Hello, this is William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, and today is June 27th. It's the last week of the spring term in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, and we're technically finishing the term on Friday, June 30th. I wanted to share a video to give an update on the accreditation activity that we're working on behind the scenes, because it's pretty significant, and we're beginning to get moving in this process. And I just thought it would be a good idea to share a status of where things are at, and then to also share some information that will be helpful for parents and students who are going to be participating in the candidacy interviews this Thursday, the 29th. So this accreditation process is being conducted by an agency called Cognia. I'm pretty sure it's the largest accrediting agency that there is. It's an international accrediting agency. And what we have to do is go through a first phase that's called candidacy evaluation. And basically, we work together with the evaluators to go through the standards that Cognia has established and just discern whether or not we as an institution even want to go through with this, whether it's in our interest to do so. So there's sort of a discernment process for us. And then there's also an evaluation process on their side to judge whether or not they think that we can complete the accreditation requirements and move forward. So there's an evaluation period where we begin to communicate, share information, and they decide to award us with the first approval, which is to be officially recognized as a candidate for accreditation. So we're getting ready for that, and to be honest, you probably know me well enough to know that I really don't care about accreditation. I'm the one who argues that it's not necessary for Catholics and for private education. So I'm always sort of dragging my feet on this. And what's been encouraging is the fact that the accrediting people, the accrediting agents, they've actually been encouraging us and sort of pulling us along and helping us. So it seems very positive. They've been very supportive and encouraging. And as I'll talk about in a bit, it's just been very providential how things have worked out and developed as we've gone through this. I've been so busy that I've almost forgotten about it at times. And as I said, they've been helpful in reaching out and almost pulling us along to get to this point. So it's been encouraging. It's not something that I've had to go crazy to try to get done. It's something that seems like it's happening, and a lot of things are coming together at this point, which is interesting. And anyway, we're sort of moving towards the end of this candidacy evaluation phase with a couple of important events coming up. Now, behind the scenes, I've had all kinds of administrative work to do for this. I had to write an executive summary that explained the history and the mission and the philosophy and all the different details of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. Thankfully, I've explained all that stuff a million times, and we've got the whole Classical Catholic Education book, which kind of makes this requirement look silly, but I was able to do that, and that was reviewed, and they said everything looked great. So they actually told me that that was one of the most challenging parts of candidacy evaluation, and I think it took me 2 days to get that done, so that was good. And then we've had a bunch of behind-the-scenes documentation and things like that to get done, where they just ask us to evaluate the program based on their standards. They ask us to evaluate, just sort of a self-evaluation to get this candidacy phase going, and we've gone through that, and things have looked good. I feel like I can say that most of their standards are things that we're either working on or already have provided for. I think a lot of the things that they're concerned about are problems in modern schools that we've prevented by returning to classical studies, by establishing a curriculum first, and doing things sort of in the opposite order that modern schools do them, which is why the schools have so many problems. So I think that's been good, and I think we're going to be able to make a pretty strong case as we get into these evaluation meetings. Now, this week, Thursday, the 29th, one of the agents from Cognia is going to conduct 2 group Zoom meetings, one with parents who are currently enrolled in the academy, and a second meeting with some students. And I sent out a few messages, and Dania reached out to some families to try and get a group of parents and a group of students to meet with this woman. Her name is Donna Gibson. She's a very nice lady, lives in Tennessee. Dania and I have had a couple meetings with her already, and everything's been great between us. But she's going to meet with parents for a Zoom meeting for about 30 to 45 minutes, nothing to worry about. And then she's going to meet with students for about the same time, just a group meeting. And what she's going to do is just ask some general questions about the academy, about the program, about the culture, about support students receive, support parents receive, whether the mission is communicated, all this sort of administrative stuff, just to get an idea of whether parents and students, who are called stakeholders in accreditation language, whether they will verify things that we're talking about as we complete the documentation. So no pressure, simple questions about the experiences of parents and students. I don't think there's going to be any problem because I think most of our families that are using the program have been doing pretty well, and feedback's been very good. So anyway, Thursday, those meetings are going to be at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time for parents, and then at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time for the students. I think I've got that right. Dania's the one coordinating those meetings. So if that sounds wrong, just go by what Dania shared with you in an email or whatever, because I may be wrong. But those interviews are going to be conducted on Thursday, and they came together pretty nicely for us. We got a lot of positive responses from families that are willing to participate, and I appreciate that. So that'll take care of another major step in this candidacy evaluation phase on Thursday. And then really there's one more event, which is a personal meeting between our state accreditation evaluator and with Dania and I. So it's a face-to-face meeting where I'll have to introduce the sort of the whole vision and mission of the academy, explain all these different accreditation issues and how we've either addressed them or intend to address them. And that meeting is going to take place on July 5th. So that will pretty much bring this evaluation, this candidacy evaluation phase to an end, and I think it's going to go very well. One instance of the providence that I mentioned is that we wanted to find a place for this meeting where we could meet with this evaluator, and we're hoping to find a central location where we could do this. And as I thought about options that we had here in North Carolina, I said, well, Belmont Abbey College is a Benedictine Catholic college up north of Charlotte. We actually have our Dominican meetings up in that area, not at the college, but close to it at the seminary. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to send a message to the Belmont Abbey College library and ask if they've got a meeting room or something like that that we can rent or make a donation to use, and we'll organize our accreditation evaluation meeting there at Belmont Abbey College because it's up near Charlotte. It's a good location. So I sent that message, and then a few minutes later I got a response. And it turns out that the librarian at Belmont Abbey College is actually a woman who's one of the members of our Dominican chapter. So we already know the person in charge of the library, and we were able to get that set up, and just sort of a providential event that took something that was a concern for us in terms of finding a good location and actually turned it into a great opportunity, not only to have the meeting, but afterwards she said she's going to give us a little tour of their special collections at the library. So that's, I think, an encouraging providence. And so I'm looking forward to not only hosting an accreditation agent, which was, our first concern, but also being able to introduce that agent to the campus of Belmont Abbey College, where there is a Benedictine monastery. So I hope it's also evangelistic and gives her a good impression of the Catholic faith. So that's sort of a doubly satisfying arrangement for us, and that's going to be on July 5th. And that's just going to be me talking, so that I'm not worried about that. I'm pretty comfortable talking about things. So that's it. We'll have the parent and student meetings Thursday the 29th, and then our face-to-face meeting on July 5th. And as long as all things go well, we'll be approved as candidates for accreditation. That doesn't mean we're accredited. It simply means we're recognized as candidates who appear to be capable of fulfilling the accreditation requirements. And then once we're given candidate status, we'll begin going through the official accreditation review and preparing all of the final information, and move forward with whatever is required of us for accreditation. Now, it's important to realize that these events I'm describing, these meetings and things like that, these are one-time events. This is a little obstacle course that we've got to get through, and then the academy will be accredited, and after that, it's just a matter of maintaining accreditation. So this is really a big step in pursuing accreditation, because once you're established as an accredited institution, it's really just a matter of maintaining that, and that means paying a monthly, an annual membership due, which of course is the financial side of things that drives all of this accreditation stuff. But then, I think there's an honorable aspect to it where it's just a commitment to constantly evaluate aspects of our work that would normally be ignored by us. It's things that Dania and I really don't care about. I'm interested in the philosophy and the religion and the instruction and the assessment. I'm really obsessed with the academic stuff. And the other stuff, the administrative stuff, the financial management, and a lot of these other secondary concerns, which I would tend to not pay much attention to. Accreditation will actually challenge us to give attention to those things and make sure we're doing more than just focusing on academic work, because there are other things to consider. So I think it's actually going to be good for us because it deals with things that, frankly, I don't care about very much. So I think it's going to be helpful for everybody. And then the other benefit of accreditation is just that there are so many Catholic families that are just, they're chickens in the sense that they're afraid to step out of the line of modern society even though they may have a million sources of evidence that what they're doing is ineffective and undesirable, they still will stay in that line, and they'll do so because they're terrified of not having some kind of secular approval. And while many of those people I have no pity for because they're just cowardly, and I don't know how they read lives of saints or any Bible stories and come away with that attitude that says, let's just stay in line, especially when these are artificial secular regulations and institutions. And we've already proven them to be false in the academy. Nevertheless, there are some people in that crowd who just don't know. They're just not certain. They do have the courage to do it if they're persuaded that it's true. And so I think that obtaining accreditation for the academy will give those kinds of people that little nudge that they need to step out of that modern system and do something different, do something that can actually help their children and improve their family culture. So I think accreditation is helpful in just luring away from that cowardly crowd of sheep, as it were, luring away those who really don't want to be in that crowd but just need a little bit of assurance before they step out of line. So I think it's going to be helpful for those people. Also, when we get into these discussions about modern and classical education, I really hate that modern programs can say, well, we're accredited, as if that, means that the program has good academics. It has nothing to do with academics. But I just hate the fact that they can throw that card on the table and give this appearance that they're doing something significant when really that has nothing to do with the issue. And it's one of those things where we can do what they do, but they can't do what we do. And I'd like to make that distinction between our program and others, that we have a complete Catholic curriculum that can be studied from the time children are 5 years old until they die as 80-year-olds. We cover all of the classical liberal arts. We offer the same course of studies that were enjoyed by saints and wise men through history. We have philosophy and theology courses. We can offer so much that other programs wouldn't even know where to begin in offering. And in addition to that, when they try to throw the accreditation card on the table, we can match that card with our own accreditation card. So I think it's also good for us in enabling us or helping us to challenge modern education in Catholic circles. And another benefit is that you probably have seen me advertising and posting recently about offering Catholic parishes the opportunity to use our program for free. And that's sort of an audacious challenge that I'm making to priests, because what I want to do is take away the excuses that have become so common, like, oh, we can't afford this, we can't do this. I want to take those excuses away. And one way that I can do that is by eliminating the excuse that relates to cost. And I'd like to do that. And imagine if not only I can offer a classical Catholic study program to parish priests to use with children in their parish at no cost, but imagine if I could also throw on top of that, oh, and by the way, it's accredited. That really turns up the heat on these priests who are neglecting parish education. And that's what I'd like to do, to try to reform Catholic education and get more priests, more parish priests to take responsibility for the Catholic education of the kids in their parishes. And I'm going to do all that I can to persuade priests to do that. And this is just another, burning coal on top of their head, as it were. So I just hope to motivate priests and just take away every excuse so they start to take responsibility for education. And then when they reach out, when they're willing to take responsibility and they reach out, I'm just going to do everything that I can do to help them at my own cost. So accreditation will be another added source of good pressure or encouragement to undertake this responsibility for the education of Catholic kids. So that's what's motivating us to consider accreditation. I've gone back and forth saying I don't want to bother with it. Maybe I should do it. Maybe I shouldn't do it. But ultimately, what it comes down for me is very simple. This is something that I personally am not interested in. I don't care about. I know colleges don't care about this. But parents and, sometimes annoying obstacle makers care about these things or pretend to care about these things. And I look at it as a sacrifice that I can make by spending the money and doing the work to obtain this accreditation. The way I look at it is I have the opportunity to obtain this accreditation for all of the parents and children who work with us in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. That's the way that I'm looking at this accreditation process, all the work that I'm going to have to do to get this done, all the inconvenience of these meetings and things like that, even though, as I said, parents and students are helping, which is awesome. I'm just looking at this as something that I can do that's within my power, that I can do to bring some additional benefits to the Catholic parents and kids who are studying with us in the academy. So that's my motivation for it. But anyway, that's where the process stands. We're sort of heading towards the end of this candidacy evaluation period. I think everything's going well. The evaluators had 1,000 chances to tell us to go away because, I was ready to hear that. I would have been happy if they said, no, never mind. But they kept pushing us and encouraging us to keep getting things done and moving forward. So it looks good. Everything looks good. And we've just got these couple of remaining events to take care of. And then I think we'll be approved for candidacy. And then we'll just have, over the next year, we'll have the work of just getting all of the different standards that they have addressed in terms of evaluation and providing evidence for all these different things and all that stuff, which is very easy for us because we have this LMS and just so many resources that most schools don't have. So that's going to be easy, I think. And then it's just a matter of proving that not only do we meet most of the standards, but that those that we don't meet yet, we're going to commit with some real concrete plans for how we're going to improve in those areas. And the theme of accreditation is just constant improvement in these things that I really don't care about, which is good for the academy. So that's it. That's where we're at. I really don't see any obstacles as far as these meetings and interviews on Thursday. Like I said, they're just going to be asking parents and students about their experiences. There's no it's not the Gestapo coming to dig into everybody's personal life and try to gather up some dirt on us or anything. They're just looking to see that the parents and students say the same thing about the program that we're saying, and I'm pretty confident that they're going to do so. So I appreciate the willingness to volunteer and help with those meetings. I appreciate your willingness to take time out of your schedule and participate in that. It's going to be very helpful for us, and ultimately it's going to return to you because if and when our program is accredited, it's just another benefit of studying in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy and one that I think is going to open a lot of doors for us in the future. It's going to give us the opportunity to do lots of different things. Just because one of the first things people ask is the school accredited? I think when we're able to say, yes, the school's accredited, as irrelevant as that may really be, it's still going to be instrumental in opening new doors for us and giving us opportunities to do things that we can't currently do or wouldn't even think about currently doing. The other issue is once we're accredited as a school, assuming that we go through with this and obtain the accreditation. Once we do that, I think the question of developing a bachelor's degree program and developing classical liberal arts college becomes a real issue. Before, we were, if you don't know this already, back in 2014, actually, the Board of Governors at the University of North Carolina gave us permission to offer a bachelor's degree in classical Christian studies, which is pretty wild. But we didn't pursue it for a number of reasons, and I think that if the academy ends up being an accredited program, I think that gives me the motivation that I need to work for this bachelor's degree program. Now, the purpose of this bachelor's degree program is not to get kids jobs. That's not the purpose. The purpose of this program, if we start the Classical Liberal Arts College program and offer a bachelor's degree in classical Christian studies, the goal of that program would be to provide students with the undergraduate studies that they need to prepare for religious vocations. That would be the focus. In fact, we would be approved to offer degrees because we are committed to serving religious vocations. So that would be the purpose. It wouldn't be a program that I would recommend to anyone who is interested in secular work or anything like that. It would be for kids who would like to prepare for religious life or for a lifetime of work in Christian education, who want a bachelor's degree but really don't want to go into a secular environment for that degree, or students who have studied in the academy as they have grown up and they just want to keep studying. That's what that program would be intended for. It would be a small program, I would expect, but one that had a special mission that only we could serve. So if we get through accreditation, I think we'll explore that and get that going, and then who knows where we go from there, because we can end up developing that college program and getting it licensed, and that would be sort of the next step in all that. So anyway, that's where things are at. It's looking good so far, and we've just got to get through these couple of remaining events, which are all laid out and scheduled now. So it looks like everything will be done in good time. So that's where things are at right now. One other thing that I wanted to share with you, one other important thing is Cognia, this accrediting agency, is giving us surveys to share with parents and students. And we've begun to share them, and you can go in there and you can complete these surveys. They ask some basic questions, again, about your experience as students in the academy and things like that, just simple questions. If you go to classicalliberalarts.com/surveys with an S at the end, classicalliberalarts.com/surveys, you'll see that there are I think 3 surveys available right now, and it would be very helpful if you would take some time, you or the children, and complete those surveys. They're short and easy. In order to do that, you're going to have to get a code from us, because I can't just make these forms open, because there's all kinds of spam and wackos that will get in there and submit nonsense. So if you'd like to complete those surveys, just get in touch with us, send us an email or chat, and let us know. We just want to make sure it's people who are actually enrolled in the program submitting those surveys, and we'll give you the codes that you need, and then you and the children can complete those surveys as you'd like, and we'll continue to add to those surveys, because that feedback from the stakeholders, from the parents and the children, is an important part of this ongoing self-improvement commitment that we're making in accreditation. So anyway, that's all that I wanted to share today. If you have any questions about this, just ask, get in touch, and let me know what you're thinking about. The most important thing to realize, which I have actually argued from the beginning, is that to obtain these worldly credentials, We don't have to be unfaithful. This constant excuse that people make that we need to compromise and sort of be willing to give in to some worldly demands and be willing to abandon some traditional Catholic teachings in order to run a school or do this or that. That's all false. That's all false. It takes creativity. It takes persistence, and to be honest, school leaders have to be willing to push back a little bit and wrestle a little bit with these accreditation agents and inspectors and so on, because they like to overstep their bounds a lot, and it takes some strength in leadership to push them back where they belong and let the true lines stand, because those lines favor Christian people, and we've got to make sure that we keep those lines where they actually are and don't allow them to give an appearance that things are somewhere else, which the law doesn't justify for them in the first place. And we have to learn to push back a little bit, and I think we can do that. I think that we're succeeding in doing that, and I'm just going to continue to work to do that as we move forward. So that's where things are. I hope that's helpful. If you've got any questions about this stuff, I can assure you we're not compromising on anything. We're not changing anything. If they asked me to change one thing, I would cancel the whole process because I don't care about it. And I already know that what we're doing is successful because I've got 4 kids in college that studied in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. If they asked me to compromise anything, I would say no. This has nothing to do with academic content or teaching methods. It's really about institutional management and committing to constantly improve the operation of the institution and being willing to have some external evaluation of the institution, which I think is good. I'm not afraid of that. So that's where things are at. Don't worry about there being any compromise because we're not dependent on this. It's a plus for us, and if it cost us anything in terms of pressure about the classical Catholic curriculum, I would just end it immediately because I don't care. And I hope you trust me in that because I really don't care. I would never compromise our mission to get some dopey accreditation that nobody needs anyway. So that's where things are at. Any questions, get in touch. Thanks again for participating in these activities this week. And I look forward to giving you another update probably in mid-July after these meetings are finished. God bless.